Welcome to Corporate Cafecito,
a Latin and business podcast where we share insights and strategies to help entrepreneurs and professionals thrive.
Bienvenidos to another Corporate Cafecito. Yo soy Nayeli Suarez Gas.
Y yo soy Carlos Butler Vale.
Today, as many of you have probably heard the dicho, dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres.
Love it.
And that is so important with who you hang out professionally too. This is not just, me telling you don't hang out with the bad kids at school, but don't hang out with the bad kids at school. It's also about who you are, who you associate with. Because did you know, Carlos, there was this study that the greatest financial mobility is not through education. It's by seeing other people who live well. It's by seeing other people who are living a life that you aspire to, because that'll push you to try to aspire to get the same things.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, especially in this job market where it's taking like 12 to 18 months to land, some positions,
Mm-hmm.
your network is absolutely your net worth.
And, I think there are various levels of network as we think about, that doesn't mean you have to know every CEO, because that's probably unlikely. That doesn't mean you have to know every head of talent acquisition, but it means...
But it doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt, right? But it means having a really good understanding of and being purposeful. We talked in one of our previous episodes about purposeful communication.
Yeah.
So just bringing it back. If you haven't had a chance to
listen to
check it out,
then,
make sure you listen to that. At this point, listen to it after. But, but that is part of that, I think, purposeful communication is making sure that, but it starts with a level of awareness and, I would say kind of auditing, because sometimes what I've actually found to be really interesting is that there's so many people in your network that you don't even realize that you have those, sort of circles of networks around you. But I know that at some point we're going to get into the topic of being purposeful about, engaging your network and what clear value add communication looks like in engagement with your network is. But I agree with you 100%. I had the privilege of being part of a leadership development program at one point. And one of the things, I was working at a university at that point, and we were providing support for mostly first generation college students. And we had a lot of students that were either at the poverty line or below the poverty line. And the head of the university was so genius to have us go through this book called Framework for Understanding Poverty. And what it was saying, or what the book showed, was, kind of how there's like generational trauma and just, a lot of this builds up over time. But that the one thing that they realized consistently was that for people to get out of that cycle was having 3 or more people in the next rung of where it was that they wanted to be. And so I just love the fact that without even thinking about that, we did.
We
but
planned it.
Exactly. Yes, we planned it. So talk to us a little bit about building network.
Yes. So one, I think that, most of my network started, I want to say in college. So at UIC, and this was before LinkedIn, we just had, I joined clubs. I was the only girl in the economics club. I always loved participating. I'm a nerd. I love being a nerd. It's my favorite. And
we're 2 nerds in a pod. 2 nerds in a pod.
I love it.
Oh, yeah.
But then, in college, and I remember like the professors that I really liked, I would try to remember who they were, or send them an email. And then at our career center, it was where we talked to the different companies. And once I started my first post-grad job, it was so amazing. I fell in love with my coworkers. I really loved the people that I was surrounded with. I thought they were so smart. I still, 25 years later, vacation with another family that is a girl I met at my first, post-college job. And so I think the value is in keeping them connected, in staying close to each other. And I think a network only works when both parties want to see the other one move up,
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
both parties support each other.
Can we take a step back really
Yeah.
quickly though? Because I don't want to make assumptions. I think one of the really cool elements of Corporate Cafecito audience is that there's a tremendous range.
Yeah.
I was looking the other day at some of just the stats, and I mean, we have everything from entry level all the way to senior executives that are, tuning in,
Hmm.
that are following the show. And so I think, could we just take a quick step back? Let's say you are sort of just getting out of high school, just getting out of college. I have a nephew who's 20, who's a listener. What does network mean?
Okay. Network is the people that you know in a
Okay.
professional setting, right? Or
Okay.
I guess you could have a
Just
personal
generally.
network.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'll describe it how I describe it to, like some of the people I work with, but I'm like, think about like, so your friends are part of your network,
Hmm.
but your network may not be friends,
Yeah.
right? They may be people that you work together. I don't want to hurt my accountant's feelings, right? Because I think he is a friend, but he's also part of my network
Yeah.
where I rely on him. We talk to each other. I ask him for advice. I lean on him.
Yeah.
When I was looking for a job, I reached out to my network.
Yeah.
I have someone who I consider like my big brother, and I reach out to him, and I was just like, "Hey, I'm going for this job," and the biggest compliment I think I've ever had in my life was that he was the other candidate.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my God, like I've so looked up to him my whole career. And he was always that person I went to. And he was like, oh my God, that's crazy. You're the other candidate. And then I ended up, neither of us took that position, and we both went to go work together at another company.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So I was reporting to him, and, but I think your network is the people that that you surround yourself with, that you want to see them win, and they want to see you win.
I love that.
And also, by the way, your network can just be people you meet at events. So if you want to LinkedIn to Carlos and
Please
I,
do.
please do. We love it, and if we could support you, we will,
Absolutely.
because obviously,
And
yeah,
or invite us to your events.
yeah,
We'll
because
show up.
we want to see you win. That's the
Yeah.
whole purpose of this podcast,
Love
is
it.
to help other people and help other people like build their network
Yeah.
and build their professional presence.
And leverage it
Yeah.
to continue the growth and forward momentum. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think you have like the comadres group of the network, right? Like this group's going to help you find a job. This is a group that you're going to be like, "Hey, I'm on a performance plan. I'm going up for this position and I need
Yeah.
someone to help me," right?
Yeah.
That
I'm
those
not happy where I am right
right.
now,
Help me
and
out,
help
right?
me understand, like, is this me or is this temporary, or
Right.
I'm ready to go. What do I do? Yeah, like those are
Yeah, that's your comadres
your
group.
core. I
Yeah.
would say, like, your core group.
And then you have the group of your extended primos and primas, like we like to party, we like to show up, and we know each other well enough. We may
Yeah.
be doing referrals between each other of
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Hey,
yeah.
I saw you here and someone was asking for this and I knew you did that," and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And then to me, the last ring of this, network is like the representation factor, right?
Yeah.
The hacemos bolita. Like there's so many of us that you spot us.
Yeah.
And so, I'm going to tell you, we talk a lot about our personal experiences and professional network. I go to a lot of Chicago Latino Network events. I know there's also the Houston Latino Network events.
Yes.
But what I love about the Chicago Latino Network is that it's like a confluence of like culture and corporate. Like, they bring different corporations. Like, I met someone from the Chicago Bears organization there, someone from Let Us Entertain You
Yeah.
restaurants, all these different companies that go there because they want to like experience our culture. And then
Yeah.
we're all there because we like haciendo bolitas and
Yeah.
having fun.
Yeah.
And they do a really good job of promoting events. And
Yeah.
the last event I went of theirs was this Colombian woman conductor, and I should remember her name, and I'm so sorry that I don't. But she performed in Cicero, Illinois at Morden East High School. And Morden East High School, is really good at soccer, and they have this beautiful theater. And it's right in the middle, like it's a very, very Latin neighborhood. And I was just like, oh my God, this is so beautiful to bring the Chicago Symphony Orchestra to us
That's amazing.
in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
So
And how great that, like, there is a place
yeah,
where first and foremost, and we've talked about this in previous episodes, like There are people out there who are wanting, obviously, our engagement. There are people out there who want us to buy their products and their services. And so it's fantastic that obviously there are places like this that they feel that they can feed into, and that
Yes,
we are the beneficiaries on the other end of it
a
to
hundred
get that
percent.
level of information so that we can not only partake, but to your point, then leverage that as an opportunity to network. Because one of the ones that I really clearly remember that I had gone to with the Chicago Latino Network. I haven't had a chance to go to the Houston Latino Network ones, but Jaime, if you're listening to this, and I'm sure you are, let us know. We'll be there.
Yeah,
We'll be happy to do whatever. But is was a Sox game, and there weren't a ton of people, but on purpose, but it was capped. But the people who went there with a purpose, and I'm actually still connected with some of the folks
yeah,
that I met there. And even if it's just staying in touch with each other and seeing updates about careers, and who knows, at some point there might be an
yeah.
opportunity where they may need a career coach. I've got you in my network. They may need a job, where they're wanting to do
Hmm.
XYZ. We can certainly go ahead and, so absolutely, I think you're 100% right, which brings me, I think, to the next point of the fact that there are more than one ways to network,
Oh,
right?
there's so
And
many ways to
so there are
network.
obviously events that you could go to, whether they be work sponsored events, or there could be organizations like, as we mentioned, Chicago Latino Network or Houston Latino Network. There are professional organizations like ASE,
Yeah.
and a few
So many.
others in
And
this
I'm going
area,
to tell
Alpha.
you, every time you see a person on a panel, every time you see a person out in public at an event, they are approachable, right? Like, go talk
They're
to them.
there, right?
Yeah. And I'm like, if a person is on a panel and they're willing to give their time and they want to share their story, like, that's your time to ask the
Yeah,
questions,
I love
like,
that.
and get them afterward, right? Usually the speakers there stay afterward, and there's like a little networking after session. Like, take advantage of that. Remember when you go to a networking event that everyone else who's there showed up for the same exact reason,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? Like, I mean, there's also sometimes free cocktails, but
Yeah,
mostly we all go for the same
yeah,
reason, and it is to network, to meet people.
yeah, absolutely. Whether that be you're an entrepreneur, which I know is a lot of the
Mhm.
audience that we're also obviously engaging, and they might be looking for new clients, or
Yeah.
it could be someone looking for their next job, or it could be somebody who's looking to hire the next big star at their organization. You never really know. But as I think about what you just said, and we're talking about the fact that there are more than one ways to network, there's
Mhm.
also more than one time to engage, and more than one reason to engage your network.
Yes.
I think sometimes we get so stuck on, this is Nayeli and she has Elevar Development and this is her career coaching business, and I will wait to engage Nayeli when the opportunity strikes, because I know someone who needs professional development. But there's so much more that you could bring to the
So
table.
much.
And so it's there I think having an understanding of
You
purpose.
know what? I'm going to tell a story about
Yeah,
us.
please do.
Okay, so I went to a meeting with Carlos and a group he was leading,
Okay.
and I remember you said, "Hey, I can't get you a meeting with this person, but I will make sure you intercept them." And
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and you were like, wait in the elevator lobby, and when I'm walking out, you start walking
I'm
in.
so glad you said. That's like making me smile,
Yeah,
because you're so right. And
yeah. I was like,
I was
thank
like,
you, network.
okay, 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 it's happening.
Yeah,
Like
like,
we're getting off
come
the
on,
elevator
yeah,
now.
right.
Yeah, yeah,
And I was like, cool. That's all I need. Just get me in front of that
yeah. I
person.
love it.
And it's so funny because that's what you need in your network,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm going to introduce you to someone, or I'm going to help you. Or like, what do you need? And I'm like, I need that guy.
And
And
when I first
yeah,
met you, I would have never thought that that would have been a way that I could have potentially
yeah,
assisted. And so, again, you know, I think sometimes we get so stuck in our minds about the fact that we put people in
yeah.
boxes, that the reality is you never really know, and so stay open to that. But one thing that I will say, because I think when you've networked enough, and you know what I mean, like
Hmm.
there's a point. So I'm going to say two things that I think might be a little trivial.
Okay.
Brace yourself. No, and you'll get this. You don't have to network with everyone.
No.
Um, and not everyone necessarily knows how to appropriately network back. Meaning
Agreed. Yeah.
they may think they're there for a specific reason, and there's a little bit of an art,
Yeah, there
and
is an
definitely
art.
some skill I think that's required in networking, and sometimes you got to be able to know when to step away.
Yes.
I had to learn that lesson the hard way.
Oh no.
And many times, I mean, you're going
Yeah.
through it, and and you realize, hey, we've been talking for 20 minutes, and I still don't have an idea about what
Oh my
we're
God.
trying to
Yes. It's
accomplish, right?
so hard.
Yeah,
And by the way, the graceful retreat, like use the bathroom, go say hi, wave at someone else, or just say, it was lovely to meet you, and just exit the conversation.
yeah, absolutely.
And there's no harm, no foul. And sometimes I've been at networking events, and I know the person is really there for someone else, and I'm like, do you have to go? Like, if you need to go, like, go for it, like,
Yes,
go for it. Like,
yes,
you're not going to hurt people's feelings, and also don't get your feelings hurt if someone
yeah,
has to go network with someone else. Like, we're really just speed dating at that time, and
yeah,
it's
yes,
I
absolutely.
was oh my God, we're gonna sound like a commercial for the Chicago Latino Network, so I apologize. But I was at one event, and I met two people there, and they have become like family to me.
That's awesome.
And it was really funny because I met her, and she was a guest here, Julie Franco. But I met her there, and
Shout
she
out
was
to
like,
Julie.
"I'm in trucking," and I'm like, "I'm in trucking," and we just like that was it, like that. We were friends
That's
forever,
awesome.
and so I think one, like, be open to the people that you're gonna meet.
Yeah,
Two, know who you want to meet when you go to a networking event,
yeah,
because oftentimes, like, if you're and know your goal or your intent for it, right? Like,
yeah,
if you're going there to like make friends or hang out or just enjoy like a good mariachi and a glass of wine, like that's fine. But if you're going there because you're gonna meet someone, or because you see a panelist that you really want to get introduced to, like, make that your goal.
yeah.
And
Yes.
tell the people, like, hey, I'm happy to chat with you, but I'm really waiting for this person, so when I see her open up, I gotta take my shot.
Yeah, absolutely. I said there were going to be two slightly controversial
Mhm.
things. I'm actually going to say three. The second one, which I may not be that super controversial, which is you don't have to go to every networking event. Like,
No.
you don't have to be that person that literally makes networking their full-time job, unless for some reason that is sort of so critical to what you do. But I think it's more about quantity. It's less about quantity, it's more about quality. And again, that is something that I think you learn as you go along. And there are some organizations that do a really great job at making sure that they're focused on that quality over
Mhm.
quantity. And so that if it's 4 events that they might have a year, that you're going to all of those 4 events, but that doesn't mean you're going to every single organization's networking events. And then I would say the third thing is, if you don't have a really good idea of why it is that you're going there, what value you feel that you can
Mhm.
provide to people, and what exactly it is that you are looking to get from a value perspective from other people, you got some homework to do.
Yeah.
And
And do it before you get
do
there.
it before you get there. And maybe that means you don't necessarily go to that event, or
Mhm.
you go, but you kind of, you take a light approach. But I can't tell you how many times I have been to places and spaces where, again, it's like, what am I doing here? What are you doing here? What are we getting out of this?
Right.
And there is such a thing as burnout, right? We've
There
talked
is.
about that,
Oh,
and
yeah.
there's probably very few things that are as bad as networking, engaging in someone with someone who is in that networking burnout.
Yep.
So folks, like, really think hard and be strategic about, we've talked about who is in your network. Um, so much of that skill goes into just even developing your network,
Yeah.
right? And so
a
it's
thousand
that
percent.
business development element of it, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's that acquisition, it's acquiring your network. And then I think about it, from a business perspective, like a sales.
Yeah.
You've got your business, you've got your acquisition folks that are going out and just trying to find. And then at some point you got to get to the business development, and you got to make sure that you're obviously doing everything you can to be a good person in someone's network, and to make sure that that person also deserves a a spot
Yes.
in yours.
Agreed. Agreed. I'm going to give a couple networking tips.
Yeah.
One, I will tell you, I get my heart broken all the time if I remember you, but you don't remember me.
Ooh.
So make a note. When you meet people, take little notes about them. Remember, why you met them. Go home, set a recap. Like, okay, these are the people. Connect to them on LinkedIn,
Yes.
so that you can keep that relationship going.
Can I just add to
Yeah.
that? When you are connecting to them on
Hmm.
LinkedIn, if you want a nice, easy way to remember how you met them, then just when you send them an introductory message, write that in your
Oh
introductory
yeah,
message. So then that way
100%.
you can go back to that
Yeah,
and
and be
then be
like,
like,
where do I
oh,
know them
yeah, that's
from?
how I
Yeah.
know you. And that's what we were talking about. And this is how we said we were going to follow up. Just a quick, easy tip for you to do that
Hmm.
if you're not someone like me who keeps
Yeah.
like notebooks and stuff like that.
So much
I
younger.
know. Well,
I keep a notepad
yeah.
in my purse, and then I write down like who I met
Yeah.
and what I remember about them.
Yeah.
I've done this. I've done this since I was working a job in high school
Mm.
because I had to keep different doctor files,
Yeah.
and I would write like who the medical assistant was, who the nurses were, when their birthdays were, etc. Okay, so that was my first tip. Write down who you met, where you know them
Yep.
from, and then, a couple things that you remember about them. Two, follow up. If you say you're going to call someone, call them. If you said you're going to email them, email them. If you email them and they don't write back, that's okay. Your email got to them and they probably read it and they'll remember you.
Mm-hmm.
Or they may not remember you. And
Mm-hmm.
if someone doesn't remember you, introduce yourself again.
Love that.
Because like
Things
there's yeah,
happen, life
we all
happens.
have heavy burdens. Some
Yep.
of us are dealing with our parents, with our children, with our families, and we may have met you and had a lovely time and then,
Yeah.
so give everybody the grace of knowing like we're all going through things. And so if you need to reintroduce yourself, just go ahead and do it and try to like not take it personal.
Yep. Absolutely.
And then my third one is love your network, like love it and nurture it like a plant. So, water it and grow it, put it in the sun, because if you only go to your plant when you need something from it, it's going to die.
Yeah.
And your network only lives when you nurture it, when you
Yeah.
take care of it, when you have those relationships and you pay attention to it. Oftentimes people will reach out only when they're looking for a job and can you connect me to this person? It's like, who is this?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Or one of the biggest offenses is, hey, can I put you down as a referral?
Mhm.
And I'm like, I don't know you. I
Yeah.
met you once and we haven't even really sort of stayed connected and I don't
Right.
know anything about your work or your ethic or anything else like
Yeah.
that.
And if I'm going
So
to vouch for you,
yeah,
I need to know you. And if I don't know
absolutely.
you, I can't vouch
Yeah,
for
it's
you.
not happening.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's funny. This is a good way to wrap up. I was thinking, you said plants. Some people are not very good with plants.
No.
And so if
And
plants are
some people
not
are
your
not very good with
thing, I was
networking
going to say,
either.
yeah, if plants are not your thing, think about pets maybe. Hopefully we could all, keep
Keep
our
pets and
pets
kids alive.
alive. Yeah, exactly. Or your kids. But yeah, listen, I think this is one of those topics that will probably, can come up in different
Yeah.
ways. As we have guests, I think it would be really awesome as we talk to them about how they even sort of network
Yeah.
and how they nurture, that network. Because one of the things that you will see just through not just our stories, but stories from other folks is that they have done such an amazing job at leveraging their network, not just for their personal and career gains, but in many cases, a lot of the people that we know have done so many wonderful things for their
So many
communities as
things. Yeah.
well. And so that is, I think about just even you and some of the work that you do with
Thanks.
Oak Park and, all the other amazing things that you're involved
Thanks.
in, some of the stuff that I've done, like that is also part of that, like
Right.
that one of those, like those hoops, right, of network. And so if we can encourage you to do anything, obviously it's just to be really thoughtful. Follow, of course, all of Naili's great tips. And she mentioned this before, but certainly do not hesitate to reach out to us, follow, connect with us. Think of us as part of your network, whether you're sitting down and
Absolutely.
listening with your cafecito, wherever you might be, or your té, or your whatever beverage of choice that you might have. We are part of your network.
We
The
are.
entire Corporate Cafecito audience is part of your network, and we can't wait to continue to grow with you, alongside you.
Absolutely.
And thanks to all of the organizations, by the way, who do really great
Amazing
work
work bringing
to
us
allow us to
together.
come
Yeah,
together. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
100%.
Well, thanks so
All
much.
right. We'll see you next time on Corporate Cafecito.
See you soon.